Hey, we're going to cover the basics on used campers today. What to look for and how to check your fit of a camper to see if it'll fit on your truck. Generally, with a four-wheel camper, what you see is what you get. The aluminum frame construction, super low profile, lightweight. But you just want to look at the camper inside, outside, roof, fabric. Make sure everything looks good, feels good, smells good. Um, Outside, just check your aluminum skin, make sure everything looks good. There's no holes, big dents, nothing that looks like frame damage from an accident. The roof either is a one-piece roof on the newer campers, or as you age back years, there's usually a two-piece roof with a seam and screws, attachment screws on the roof. Just make sure those are like clean and they've taken care of it and there's no holes in the roof and the screws are tight if you have an older roof. Door, check the door, make sure the door opens and closes properly. It's more of a visual check. Most people don't have the time in an afternoon, if they're buying a used camper, to check all of the appliances, to run the refrigerator and furnace and battery and all that stuff. Most customers selling a camper don't want to sit there for 4 hours with you while you're doing that. So make sure visually that you like it, that it feels good and smells good and you're comfortable in it. We kind of give it a feel-good test. Open up your doors, check your water ports, check your furnaces, just visually make sure everything looks good and intact. Camper base, check that out. We have a wood floor pack on most models. Visually, like, eyeball that thing and see if it looks good and it's not coming apart, anything weird. That usually holds up really well over the years. But if they've jumped the camper off-roading seriously, like there's some, very rarely, you could have some wood damage down there. Just eyeball it. If it looks good and everything's square, then you should be good. Front wall of the camper, same thing, just check it out. Your roof latches, your fabric again. Make sure you don't have any tears, cracks, any like water intrusion from that. Inside the camper, check your headliner for like stains for leaks. Smell check, see if you smell mold or musty. And then just look at the cabinets and your couch and your sink and your stove inside and make sure they look good. Structurally, the campers hold up for just about forever if customers take care of it because it's aluminum frame. The side down this direction, you have the same thing, just we have propane box and awning and refrigerator. That'll vary from year to year and floor plan to floor plan, but pop the roof up and down. Make sure you're folding lift panels that allow the roof to go up and come down. Look good, good condition. Roof check, fabric check, lift panel check, and then camper check. For fit guidance, that's probably a secondary thing, but very important because customers drive for hours to go find a camper and pick it up. And you want to make sure that the camper is actually going to fit your truck. Old campers were much wider than the new days. When I say old, back in the 80s, all the way up until about 1990. So 1990 or older, the four-wheel campers were really wide. Across the back of the camper here, this lower portion that sits in the tailgate area here on the old four-wheel campers, since we've been around for a long time, 64 inches wide. Most of the new truck beds are 60 inches wide or less, sometimes 58. So if you're looking at real dated campers, double check your fit. So measure across the bottom of the camper back here, and then measure across your tailgate opening at the narrowest point from here to here inside this area. Make sure that camper is going to slide in there. About 1990-ish, four-wheel campers narrowed the camper bases 2 inches, or actually 4 inches, 2 inches on each side, from 64 inches wide down to 60 inches wide to meet the new truck sizes. The truck beds got narrower. So same idea across to the back of the camper. On some like 1990 until about 2002, 2001, the camper was 60 inches wide. So you'll need a 60-inch wide tailgate opening. And then the newer models, 2002 pretty much, or newer, campers were narrowed again across the board to 58 inches wide. And when I'm giving these measurements, it's broad term, general, can vary. Little trucks have different measurements, but if you have the full-size truck, Ford, Chevy, Dodge, F-150, 250s, full-size trucks for a Hawk or a Granby or a Keystone, bigger and wider. The littler trucks like Tacoma measure 53 inches across the back, narrower between the wheel well humps, but you can just check that by checking your tailgate opening across the bottom of the camper here. And then the other measurement that's an easier fix is bed depth, how deep the truck bed is in comparison with the camper. So measure the camber here, or have the customer that you're buying it from measure for you. This one's about 21 inches and a half, 22 inches. And then measure the depth of your truck bed here and see how deep it is from the bed rails to the bottom of the floor. So that's the two critical measurements: bed depth and tailgate opening. If your camper base is not deep enough, you can build a platform for it. You can use 2x4s, you can use wooden runners and build it up. If your tailgate opening is too narrow, the camper's not going to fit. It's very difficult. It can be done. You can narrow the camper base, but it's not an easy task. Most people just look for a newer camper that has a narrower base that will fit in their narrower tailgate opening. Wheel well humps are pretty standard over the years. Full-size trucks, 48 inches from wheel well to wheel well, so there's not many fit issues there. And then smaller campers, I believe it's like 40 inches, 38 inches between the wheel wells. So if you're looking at an older model like an Eagle or a Falcon or a Fleet or a Swift or a Finch, like the old school Ranger 2 models, camper base is narrower. The rear of the camper is narrower. It's not as deep because they're sized for Tacomas and Ford Ranger, Chevy S10, Dodge Dakotas. So littler camper, littler truck, bigger camper, bigger truck. Hope that helps.